Knickerbocker holiday.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. We'd like to thank Sarah Hollenbach with BlackFriday.com for Skyping in from Texas to give us the latest on the big deals. Speaking of big deals, a usual guest here in studio, Bob Whitcomb. Thank you for joining us today.
Imperialist.
Imperialist. We're kind of matching green over here. Now, got to start off by saying this Dartmouth alum, I happen to know, and the Harvard-Yale game went against my alma mater.
That's right. I was there because a Harvard alumnus was being honored for surviving 10 years with cancer. But I made the mistake of making a bet with a friend of mine, also an alumnus of the Harvard Business School, called, I'll give his name since he's a war criminal, Bob Harrington. And I bet for Yale because I thought that Harvard was far too imperialistic and power hungry.
Well,
and of course I lost.
Came back to bite you.
$5 poor, and I need the money.
Speaking of sports betting is now, they say, officially coming online here in Rhode Island on Monday. This has been a protracted effort. This was supposed to be up and running. And we get very little information as to why. I mean, there's a lot of regulatory red tape, things of that nature.
It's going to be more cannibalization of the gambling trade. By the way, let's not call it gaming, please. It's gambling. It's just more slicing up. As you know, revenues are down at most of the casinos.
They were in Tiverton.
Tiverton and the big new casino in Springfield. I don't want to say anything against Springfield. However, do you consider that a destination resort? And things aren't doing that well there either. Now we're going to slice it up more with sports betting. I assume there'll be corruption as a result of this, but
if you're a betting guy, you think there's
absolutely. It reminds me in a way of the marijuana craze, medical marijuana, now moving rapidly to recreational marijuana. I think this is going to be another advance that's actually a retreat.
Well, speaking of things that just came online, we did have the piece up this week again. Marijuana in Massachusetts, sports betting now next week here in Rhode Island. Haven't seen a lot. I know it's just over the border. There's been some kind of look at it. I mean, how long do you think before we really get a sense of the impact of legalized marijuana in Massachusetts?
I think pretty quick. Especially on the road. Yeah.
Well, we will see, keeping an eye on it up in Massachusetts, but I think here in the General Assembly in 2019, don't hear a lot of people talking about it.
No, it's interesting. I don't know if it's because Rhode Island, at least at some levels, is more, what's the right word, socially conservative or something, but you haven't heard as much about it.
No.
In Massachusetts, everything is complicated too because it's such a big medical center, and so physicians are weighing in the advantages and the disadvantages of marijuana, and that might kind of change the climate a bit on our reaction to marijuana legalization. I do have to say, restate the obvious, which is when you're talking about medical marijuana quickly becomes recreational marijuana. Whatever the law.
The law of unintended consequences.
Whatever the law. And I think in the not very long run, though, that whatever happens in Massachusetts happens here. They really sort of have to. Just sort of the economics, the huge power of Massachusetts over the Rhode Island economy. Rhode Island is at this point, a rather derivative state. We have to remember, of course, that Roger Williams himself came from
a product of Massachusetts.
They kicked him out for being such a bore.
Well, we'll see what happens on the marijuana front. Story today, we just put up the home sales down again in Rhode Island for the 8th straight month.
You're seeing weaknesses around the country now in home sales and home prices. And my hunch, there's so many variables in economics. My hunch, this is part of the presaging the next recession. And of course, rates are going up, interest rates are going up. I had a funny line by my friend whom you met, David Jacobs, publishes the Boston Guardian. I asked him, aren't you worried about the fall in, potential fall in real estate prices upon which much of his advertising depends? He said, no, 30% of it's cash. Flight capitalist. I'd be very surprised if Mr. Fame's skyscraper goes up, that a lot of that were not also cash, and probably foreign money.
Okay, very liquid. Let's
Very
talk.
liquid.
Let's talk a little bit. Speaking of money, Jeff Bezos Foundation giving across, I believe, the country. I think it was $94 million in grants. Crossroads, Rhode Island, of course, addressing the homeless population here.
Right.
A $5 million grant.
Well, it's great this time of year. I mean, it's particularly needed in the holiday season. I think it's great, and certainly for those investors in Amazon who are concerned this will hurt the bottom line, I do want to remind people their revenue last year was $178 billion. So
They are quite the behemoth.
but it's a great time of year for it. It's getting colder, the holidays and all that stuff. So it's great they give anything away. You know, we should briefly mention Mike Bloomberg, who gave Johns Hopkins University $1.8 billion for financial aid, and that's great, except that the institutions that need it do not include Johns Hopkins University or even Harvard University.
No.
You know,
Their
I
endowments
wish they
are-
give it more to institutions that help the poor directly. Now, I know this will help the poor a bit, but you know, that more broadly help the poor. But anyway.
We'll see what happens. And speaking of seeing what happens, you've got your sheet of what's to come this
right.
weekend.
Well, I talk about holidays. I just always surprised why everybody insists on following the official holiday. The authorities declared holiday, when it would be much more agreeable just to set your own day for a holiday and not be packed on the roads, these crazed, drunken, gridlocked drivers.
The
or
supermarket
trains
today
The supermarket
was-
makes you want to become, just be fed intravenously at home.
There was a small supermarket I went to earlier today that did have a Providence police officer.
Yeah,
Want to thank them for being there, but you think about just the chaos level of needing to conduct the traffic and make sure everyone's
But
okay.
people
So
that-
choose your own holiday.
Human desire or willingness to go along with, kind of the expected holiday is just, I just find it very unappealing.
So you're gonna have the 4th of July this weekend?
Well,
All the
yeah, or
fireworks.
something like that. One of the great things in France, because they had all these French holidays I couldn't take because I was working for an international paper, we could pick our own holidays.
Oh, okay.
And they weren't crowded.
Oh, see, there's a
That's where
method
it
to this
came from.
madness. Okay,
Yeah.
you've gotten this idea of
They
picking and choosing.
they could not follow the French holidays, which come about every other day, but there are a whole lot of them. There's also
That's the French.
5 weeks vacation, and then you take a couple more weeks to cover all the holidays. It was really great.
Okay, so choose your own holiday. What else we got
Okay,
going
and then
on?
we've got Bridges, Providence Journal. Actually, I should say the sister operation of the Providence Gatehouse, the Newport Daily News had a good story about the bridges and turning the Pell's Bridge into a real tourist spot with an escalator going up to an observation deck at the top, which I think is really neat. And then, a pedestrian bicycle throughway, kind of the next level below the cars. And I've always felt that Rhode Island could do a lot more with its bridges. It's got these spectacular views from them. And, also they could charge admission to get to the top, which would pay for some of the upkeep.
Well, I'll
So I
tell
think it's
you,
great.
when I was in
Yeah.
New York this past year, I'd never done the Brooklyn Bridge before. And
Yeah.
granted, some people
Gorgeous,
use it
yeah.
obviously for
Yeah.
literally commuting or transportation purposes. I was shocked at
That's
the
where
level
I beg.
of.
That's where I do my begging on the Brooklyn Bridge.
I was
those
shocked
hedge
about the
funders
number
going
of
over to
people.
Lower Manhattan. Yeah.
Well, here we are. Anything else about this weekend you want to share?
Let me see. About the weekend. Well, I do think I advise everybody to take a long, cool walk on Friday and Saturday, and then mull the possibility of rescheduling their holiday for the next year.
So,
Quiet
save
time,
the aggravation.
quiet time.
There will be some quiet time.
Quiet time, and there's one other thing I was going to. Yes, if I could just slide one very
Absolutely.
interesting thing. The endangered right whales. I think maybe GoLocal has had. This guy has invented this device with a joystick to model how they get entangled in fishing gear, and this may provide a solution to in efforts to save them. And I thought this could be applied to other species too.
Oh,
as
very
mankind
interesting.
continues to wipe out
Ugh.
species, is a very good clip.
Well, you always have that great intersection of tech, environment,
Yeah.
and that's I'm interested
Very
to read
kind of
that
New
way.
England thing.
Yeah, very New England
very
thing.
New England thing. Very
Well,
New
we
England.
certainly wish everyone a good start to
Okay.
Thanksgiving Eve out there. Be sure you're careful if you're on the
That's
roads,
right.
again, traveling today, tomorrow, throughout the weekend. But of course, we'll have more coverage on GoLocal. So Bob Whitcomb, thank you so much.
Okay.
And I'm going to sign off here this Wednesday. Thank you again for joining us today. Laura Afonso, if you missed it, had coffee, tea, cocktails, and bagels at 3 o'clock. You can catch that on GoLocal. And of course, again, thanking Sarah Hollenbach with BlackFriday.com to talk about the big deals. We'll be back here in studio next Monday with Business Monday and Josh Fenton. But in the meantime, again, happy holiday weekend. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.